Do you ever wish someone would draw you a map and give you the directions to the career of your dreams? If so, consider this podcast your GPS to a career where you feel strong, fulfilled, and passionate about your work, day in and day out. On this show, I am sharing the tools to help you advocate for your strengths, discover your passions, and learn from folks who transformed their careers for the better. My name is Joyel Crawford, your fairy god mentor, and with my 18 years of experience in HR at a Fortune 50 company and 20 years of coaching and mentoring top leaders, I am thrilled to be your guide on this career journey. Let's get started. Hello and welcome back, everybody, to Career View Mirror, where we discuss and explore our guests' path, their career path, so their past, so that you can navigate your career future. Today's conversation is deeply relevant for 2026 and beyond. 40% of Americans have experienced a layoff. And I feel like that statistic is not accurate. I feel like it feels like, at least from my clients, I'm feeling like everyone has been going through this more often than not, of experiencing a layoff. And as our job market continues to shift, many professionals are realizing it's not a matter of if, it's just a matter of when. So, Steve Jaffe is here. He's our guest. He's the author of The Layoff Journey from Dismissal, excuse me. Oh my gosh, dismal. It is dismal. From dismissal to discovery. I'm going to repeat the title of this book, The Layoff Journey from Dismissal to Discovery, navigating the stages of grief after job loss. And I want to say, Steve, I am so glad to have you here on Career View Mirror because I'm currently writing a book about change management and grief. So
Yeah,
like there are so many alignments here. And I was just like, oh my God, this is like perfect
yeah,
timing to talk about this. And I'm so
yeah.
glad that you're here.
Thank you. Thanks for
Welcome,
having me. It's my
welcome, welcome.
pleasure. Thank you.
So what inspired you to write this book? What inspired,
Oh
brought you here to
boy.
this book?
Yeah. It was kind of like the confluence of a couple of events.
Okay.
One, I had always wanted to write a book. I had a background in writing and journalism. Um, but I had been through a series of layoffs in my own career. I've been through 4 layoffs. And I realized there was a very big difference in how I processed
Hmm.
and managed the first layoff compared to the fourth layoff.
Hmm.
And it was in that exploration that I realized I had learned a set of skills that really helped me
Hmm.
and I thought could help others. I had no idea that layoffs were going to become as commonplace as they are now. And like you mentioned, in the book, I mentioned 40% of all Americans have been laid off at least once. And that does feel like that's underreported. We're at record all-time high layoffs, the most now since 2009. And there's also the fewest number of new jobs available on the market. So it's this perfect storm of more people being laid off and out of work for a very long time.
Hmm.
Um, the book talks about how to manage the grief after you've been laid off. And what's unique is there really aren't any other books that do this.
Right.
Most books, when you get laid off, they pick right up with update your resume.
Yep.
Here's how you do the job interview. Here's how to network. Here's how to do your LinkedIn profile. And none of them say, listen, you're going to need to pause and manage this grief. And most people don't even recognize that there is grief after a layoff. You feel angry, you feel depressed, you're in denial. But
Yes.
what people don't realize is those are the 7 stages of grief. And the
Yes.
same way you deal with them after the death of a loved one, or maybe after a divorce or bankruptcy, like any traumatic life event, as human beings, we process that through these stages of grief. And I looked at layoffs through that lens, and I
Mhm.
found that it gave me like a roadmap. It
Mhm.
gave me some sense that, oh, I'm not alone in this. This is like a normal way of feeling, and then it gave me like the path forward. So giving language and giving words to the experience is really beneficial.
Oh, it is. It is. I think that what's missing a lot in these grief, and I'm so glad. I'm like, I can't even tell you how. I'm like, this is so aligned. I'm so glad that you talked about the stages of grief, because I think a lot of times we align or see grief as a loss of a personal, a loved one,
Mhm,
instead of the professional grief that we
mhm,
experience in our lives.
mhm.
Was there a specific moment that in the layoff, that one of the layoffs that you experienced, I'm so sorry that you went through 4 times, that changed how you saw your identity or your future?
Yeah, yeah, I like that question because that's it in a nutshell is we tie up so much of our identity in our jobs.
Mhm.
And when you lose the job, you can sometimes lose your identity. And
Mhm.
that can be the genesis of a lot of grief. And I think that was my turning point where the difference between my first layoff and my fourth layoff, I
Mhm.
had learned to separate my identity from my job so that when I lost my job, I didn't lose everything. I'd only lost a part of who I am and what I am.
Mhm.
Um, we can derive so much meaning from what's printed on our business card that when we're in social settings and people ask, "So what do you do?" We reduce who we are to a title and a company that we work at. And when that's taken from you, you realize, one, if you've allowed your identity to be defined by your job,
Mhm.
that you need to build much more than that, and you need to kind of strive for that work-life balance almost, where you find meaning and purpose and joy in alignment with your personal values, and you understand
Mhm.
your um, um, transferable skills in a way where, look, somebody might be able to take the job, but they can't take your skills. They can't
Right.
take your expertise and what you've learned.
Mhm.
So, like, it's more of a kind of a whole person definition of who we are, with your job being one of those. But separating that identity from that place that you work at is a really key a way of sort of insulating yourself from some grief, but
Mhm.
also ensuring that you have a path forward after the
Ah,
job loss.
so healthy. I wrote a Substack article recently about divorcing myself from work,
Mm,
because even though I walked away from an 18-year career in corporate America, I was in HR. So, I mean, I
mm,
could have easily been picked up in many of the reductions in force that occurred, but I walked away, but I still had 18 years of an identity
mm,
that was so deeply rooted in that organization. Even starting my own business, I still infuse my identity in what I do, and what you do isn't who you are, right?
mhm,
And
mhm.
so I think that is so healthy. It's a healthy way to address that. For someone who sees you now as an author and an advocate, Steve, what did your career look like before you
Yeah.
entered that chapter?
I spent about roughly 30 years in advertising and marketing. I worked at advertising agencies, and then I did marketing in-house for a variety of different clients.
Mhm.
I think my biggest claim to fame is I worked on the ad campaign for Las Vegas, the "What happens in Vegas stays in Vegas" ad
Oh my gosh,
campaign.
that's so
Yeah,
cool.
I worked on that. So, I had varying levels of success,
Mhm.
and I love marketing. I still love marketing. Um, this is a little bit of a transition for me, understanding that after my layoff, and I was searching for what brings me joy and what would align my personal values and passion. I recognized that I always had this lifelong dream of writing a book, and I just was missing the subject matter, and all of it came together in the Layoff Journey. Um,
Mm.
and now I'm applying my marketing skills to selling the book. So
Oh,
it's a little bit of a first full circle moment for me.
yeah,
Um, but yeah, I spent most of my career in advertising and marketing.
that is so cool. I mean, looking back, did you see any clues that this type of work and being an author and an advocate for helping people grieve after a layoff, that this was coming down the pike? Did you have any clue?
No, no. So I had written in my head, I had
Mhm,
written like some of the story arc and some of the concept of
mhm,
this journey. Um, but I hadn't put it all together, and I didn't really find this path until the fourth layoff. And as I was thinking through, okay, what am I going to do now? What am I going to do next?
mhm,
And I did have a little bit of like a light bulb moment where I thought, oh, now I see it. And it feels really good to be able to help people.
mhm,
It feels really good to take these skills and this experience that I have.
mhm,
I have like that 10,000 hours of
mhm.
recovering from a layoff. And, call me an expert. I don't
Right,
have a PhD.
where's your certificate?
Right, right. I don't have a PhD, but I certainly have the scars and bruises to show for it.
Mhm,
And I really am feeling pretty fulfilled that
mhm.
I'm helping people at a time that people really need it.
Nice. It's beautiful. I know that your book centers around navigating the emotional side of job loss. And like you said, so many professionals are just scurrying to their LinkedIn profiles and brushing up their resumes, which is something that you need to do, but you focus on the grief part. Why is it so important to acknowledge grief as critical before jumping into the strategy of finding a new job?
Yeah, this is the sort of thing that if you don't acknowledge it and give yourself some time to
Mhm,
to feel it and process it, it's going to manifest in other ways in your life, and it's going to certainly manifest in the job hunt.
mm,
If you don't
mhm,
come to terms with what you've just gone through, in very simple terms, if the hiring manager asks you, so tell me about your last job, tell me why you were let go, tell me why you want this job. If you don't process what you've been through, those are going to be difficult questions for you to answer, and they're going to show up in
mm,
how you respond. Um, if you process the grief in a healthy way, those questions are going to be much easier to answer. So, it's sort of like doing the work now will help you down the road
mhm,
in probably ways that you don't even understand. But think of it this way: when the hiring manager does ask you those questions, the answer could either be an elephant in the room, or it could be something that you're really prepared to answer because you've processed it and you've come out the other side.
right. Yeah, it's like healing before you just like grieving the loss of a loved one, you really do need to give yourself time to grieve and heal
Right.
before going
Right.
into that next experience, because the energy that you bring into that room can
Right.
make or break an interview,
Right.
to your
Right.
point. So it
And the
is.
thing I would add too is the job hunt itself
Oh,
is
yeah.
full of so much grief because
Yes.
you're going to send out 100 resumes and you may get one phone call.
Right.
You may get one interview and then you may
Mhm,
get ghosted.
mhm.
And you may think that you're perfectly aligned for a job and never hear back.
Yeah.
There's going to be a lot of hardship and grief from that experience. If you
Yes.
don't process this grief first, you're going to have grief piling on grief, piling on grief, and it's going to be tough to dig yourself out of that hole.
Yeah.
The steps that I outline in the book are great steps for processing really any difficult life experience, particularly around job loss. But if you follow like the roadmap that I outlined, they'll give you the skills to be in a healthy place where you can face that rejection that you're going to get on the job hunt
Mhm.
in a way that it doesn't like completely destroy you.
Oh, this is so good. I mean, do you mind digging deeper into telling us what the emotional stages that professionals move through after a layoff?
Yeah. So I'll list them in order in the book. Each chapter is surrounding a particular stage, um, but they don't really manifest in a linear way. You could face, one and skip over two and three.
Mhm.
You may not even deal with a couple of stages.
Mhm.
You may face all of them on one really awful day, and on one beautiful day, you may not face any at all. So
Right.
it's each individual and their own life experience kind of dictate how they manifest and when they manifest.
Mhm.
Um, but the seven stages are denial, anger, bargaining, depression. Those are the first four, which is
Mhm.
where a lot of the heavy lifting in terms of um, the difficult emotions are, and some of the difficult work. And the last three, you kind of turn the corner and you start to see the light at the end of the tunnel.
Yep.
Acceptance, reconstruction, and renewal.
Mhm.
That's where you really start to feel like, okay, I'm not broken.
Mhm.
What defines me here is not the layoff, but how I respond. And you pick yourself up and you start to rebuild.
Mhm.
It's in those stages then that you learn um, the skills that you need to then manage the job hunt and that rejection that you're going to get.
Mm. And speaking of skills, a lot of our listeners are leaders,
Mm,
people leaders. So what responsible responsibility do leaders and organizations have in how they handle layoffs, especially when it comes to the survivors that remain? And
yeah,
that's my chapter. I'm writing about a
yeah,
chapter in that. But
yeah.
do you have any insights on an advice to our leader listeners?
Yeah. My advice to any leader of people in the workplace,
Hmm.
the number one most important skill is empathy. Understand and be able to empathize and put
Hmm.
yourself in others' shoes. That will give you a lot of great leadership and inform a lot of great leadership decisions. But you're right to mention those left behind, those survivors. So a layoff sends two messages. It sends one message to the ones that are let go, and it sends another message to the ones that stay. And what I talk about a lot is that the biggest indicator of a company's corporate culture is how they manage layoffs, how they
Hmm.
let go of those people says more about your company than any mission statement or foosball table or happy hour on Friday ever will.
Yep.
That tells you what your values truly are. And those people that remain, they see how you let the others go.
Hmm.
They see how you communicate, how you show up. They see how you allocate severance packages, all of those things. And that's going to influence their view of the company and how
Yep.
they show up after the layoffs are completed.
Hmm.
By and large, those employees that remain are going to have to absorb all of the work that the ones that got let go were doing. So their workload may have just doubled, um, but their own job security, their feeling is in jeopardy.
Hmm.
Um, a lot of statistics that I've seen in terms of layoffs, people who stay start looking for a job. The way that they show up in terms of um, their company loyalty, but also like their work product
Hmm.
decline. Um, so they're dealing with survivor guilt. Like,
Yes.
why me? Why was that person let go?
Hmm.
There's a lot of questions that remain. Um, So you may think, well, we're going to do this round of layoffs. We're going to eliminate this group of people. And okay, we're going to like, that's it. And we're going to move on. But
Mhm.
there's so much more to it than that.
Oh, so much. And what do you think companies get wrong about recovering after these layoffs?
You know, there are just horror stories about how companies lay people off.
Mhm.
Um, the humanity, the compassion, the lack of empathy, that
Right.
just it baffles me. You know, I've heard of people getting laid off, women while they're in labor. I've heard of salespeople while they're on the road doing sales calls. I just heard a story about, they had layoffs at the Washington Post, and I
Oh,
heard that there was a reporter that was in Ukraine,
yes.
like
War
in
zone.
war zone, and they get let go. And that means their company card is gone, all of their press pass is gone, have no way to get home. I can't imagine anything worse than that.
Uh,
So, like, it's really crazy. But people have their parking, their building pass revoked with no warning.
no.
They don't know why they're getting that.
Mhm. Can't get into the building even. Like
Right.
like their pass isn't even allowing
Right.
them to get in.
Right.
Um,
Yeah. And the thing
awful.
is, even if companies, so let's say companies just have a selfish motive, which most companies are pretty selfish, right? When a company goes through a layoff, their brand um, perception takes a hit. Consumers think twice about purchasing their products and services. So, like, it's a bit of a knee-jerk reaction in layoffs. So companies going through some difficult period in terms of budget, and a lot of times for no fault of their own. There could be
Right.
a pandemic, there could be a recession, there
Mhm.
could be new competition, technological advances,
Mhm.
and they need to reduce headcount as a way of redirecting that revenue to the bottom line. Um, and Unfortunately, people find layoffs as this sort of simple means to an end
Mhm.
and don't take into consideration all of these ancillary negative consequences. They see it as an individual with which you need to limit liability. So we're going to take their computer, we're going to give them the severance package, and we're going to get them out of the building really quick so they can't harm the company. And it's much more than like a legal exchange. It's a
Mhm.
human exchange that has
Mhm.
this, um, um, you know, ramifications that just um, it's like a ripple effect. It just runs all through the company and the narrative.
Yeah. Yeah, I totally agree with you. I mean, I think about when employees were voluntarily, terminated.
Mm,
We would say they were promoted to customer, but there's still that mindset that needs to happen. You are
mhm,
essentially gaining new customers or clients in whatever the business is, and how you treat them from every stage and phase of their employment needs to be thought through. Like they need to
mhm,
really think about the process and ways of doing it. Like they think, to your point, protecting their assets is going to protect them in the long run. But they
mhm,
need to think about the fact that there are human beings that are a part of this decision, that they need to take into account.
mhm. Yeah, absolutely.
In today's unpredictable economy, even public sector jobs aren't immune. So, how should professionals future proof themselves emotionally and practically? Is resilience enough? I
Mm,
know I say that a lot in a lot
mhm,
of my
mhm.
workshops and everything. We need to be resilient,
Yeah,
like,
right,
how
right.
is that enough?
No, no. I think you need to make sure you've got a minimum of 6 months of savings. Um, you a few years ago, 6 months you could have landed a new job in that period of time. It
Mhm.
might be 12
Mhm.
now, So make sure you've got enough savings. Make sure that your network is healthy and strong.
Mhm.
You're gonna rely on that network for your next job. Most likely, you're not going to get your next job through a hiring board,
Right.
competing with 1,000 people that are submitting for the same
Mhm.
job. And
Mhm.
ATS is weeding your resume out. You're going to get the job through your network.
Yep.
So make sure that your network is strong. You want to build your network before you've been laid off, not after. Um, Build up some equity with that network so that you have the ability to reach out and ask for favors, ask if anybody knows of any job openings. That's going to be really important.
Mhm.
um, so those are a few things that you can do.
Mhm.
um, the third one, if you can, start thinking about what your side hustle might be. Start
Mhm.
thinking about how you can invest in yourself. If that job gets taken away from you, you might want to double down on yourself like you have.
Yeah.
You've gone to work for yourself.
Yeah.
That's a great way to insulate yourself from getting laid off. You're not going to fire yourself.
Some days,
So,
though, some days, Steve.
yeah. And that side hustle, might give you that extra income to help
Mhm.
bridge some things too. So
Mhm.
those are a couple words of advice.
Great.
Resilience and grit is great in combination with that.
Mhm.
Um, but there are some practical things that you need to do as well.
Absolutely. So, what does a typical day? We're going to go into that career view mirror and look at a typical day. What does it look like for you now as an author and an advocate?
Yeah, I'm probably spending more time doing marketing stuff now than I ever
Mhm.
have. Um, it's doing podcasts like this. It's doing social media. It's networking and trying to reach out and find as many ways as possible to get the word out about the book and sell copies. That has become a full-time job. Writing the book was the easy part.
Right,
Writing the book didn't
right.
really take that long. Marketing it that is a full-time job. So
Yes.
I'm enjoying it, and I'm happy that I'm able to help people.
Oh, that's wonderful. I mean, I know that in your application, you quoted Brene Brown
Hmm.
about your story becoming someone else's survival guide. And that really
Yeah,
spoke to me.
yeah, yeah. I love
That's,
that quote.
that's great. So, what impact are you hoping that this book creates?
I'm hoping that people find the path through the layoff where
Mhm.
they don't see it as a roadblock; they see it as a detour.
Mm.
Um, I'm hoping that people are able to let go of some of the shame and embarrassment that come from a layoff.
Mhm.
So often, that's what holds people back from communicating and reaching out and networking. They feel like somehow they've done something wrong, but the layoff is a no fault termination. And really, the only people that should feel shame and embarrassment is the company.
Right.
So I wish people would let go of that and not carry that with them.
Mhm.
Um, Letting go of that opens up a lot of healing.
Yes. Yeah, there are certain things that we need to be accountable for and own and carry, but those business decisions are business decisions. It was not personal.
Right.
And that's really great advice to share.
Mhm.
Speaking of sharing, I have my favorite question.
Mhm.
If you could share one or two leadership lessons or career lessons with the younger Steve
Mm.
Jaffe,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
especially the version of you receiving that first severance notification letter, what would they be?
You know what I've learned as I've gotten older and I look back at my career, I've really become to identify with that Maya Angelou quote about how people feel about you is more important. Like that leaving people better than when you found them.
Mhm.
That's the people part of the job is something that I didn't always get right. I was very focused on the job itself and the tasks and being successful that way. and I didn't see a path of success in the human relationships. And I wish that I had placed a higher value on that. And I'm happy that now with the book, I'm able to help people. And I wish I had understood that part of it when I was younger.
What would you tell somebody who got their notification today and is asking, what now? What kind of advice would you give to them?
Take a deep breath. It's going to be okay. Give yourself the permission to feel all the feelings. It's normal and there's nothing wrong with you. You didn't do anything wrong. You're going to get through this. And the book is a roadmap to doing that. It's a practical guide that will help you get through that difficult period of your life.
That's gorgeous. I'm going to ask you one more so we can get another soundbite and gem from you. If someone's listening today and they're in the middle, so we talked about the beginning, if they're in the middle of their layoff journey, and I know many of my friends and family members who've been looking for 6, 12, 18 months after their layoff, and they're maybe still in the dismal phase, what's one sentence that you want them to remember?
Oh, gosh. There's the idea of, when you get knocked down 8 times, you stand up 9. When life knocks you down, you got to keep standing up. You are not this circumstance. You are how you respond to it. And it's hard to find that courage and that hope every day when you keep getting knocked down. But the resilience that you need is found in those moments when you believe in yourself, when maybe nobody else does, and you keep forging the path forward. The person that you will become after the layoff will be very different than the person you were before the layoff. You will have learned things. You will have gone through battle. You will be tested in fire. It is a difficult experience, but you will get through it. And you may find that some of it has been almost defining in a way that now, as life throws its difficult things at you, you might be either better prepared for or at least ready for it because you've built up some battle scars.
Yes. Oh, that's beautiful. No, I really love the advice, and I know our listeners will really appreciate the words of wisdom and just something to hold on to. I think hope is, they say, like, I think it was Bronte who said hope is a thing with feathers, but like, I just feel like hope, it's harder to find hope these days, especially when you've been looking for your livelihood, or trying to find, especially if you were like me, where your identity was so closely connected to what you did or do for a living. This advice is very, very good. And I'm so grateful to have you on the podcast. We will put links to where you can purchase the book. And again, the title of the book is The Layoff Journey from Dismissal to Discovery, Navigating the Stages of Grief After Job Loss. Steve Jaffe, thank you so much for
Thanks so
being
much for having me. Here. I appreciate it. Thank you.
I just love having you. And I'm hoping that anyone who hears this knows that there's hope. I know I sound like Susie Sunshine. The job is out there. Sometimes it's not the right job that's out there for you. If you get rejected, I always try to say, man's rejection is God's protection. So maybe it's not that you aren't right for the job. It could be that the job wasn't right for you.
Absolutely.
And to just to really, like you said, just don't take it personally. Keep going. You are more than what you are doing, and it will come. It will come.
Absolutely. If the door doesn't open for you, it means it wasn't your door.
Exactly.
Yep.
Exactly. Thanks everyone for listening and watching today. We will put all of Steve's information in there, especially where to get the book, and if you have any questions or comments, we'll put his contact information as well in the speaker's notes. Again, thanks for listening to Career View Mirror, everybody, and we'll see you next time. Thank you so much for listening to Career View Mirror. If you got value from this episode, please consider leaving a rating and a review for the show on Apple Podcasts, or head on over to Spotify and click 5 stars for our show. We also have a YouTube channel with video versions of our episodes, so subscribe over there for more content. Thanks again, and I'll see you in the next episode.